Hi, my name is Jane. I don't know if I've come to the right place, but I was wondering if I could get some help tracing my family roots. What is it called? Genealogy? I don't know much about it, but I know a lot of information is available online. I am quite tech savvy.
Hi Jane, I'm Sally. I would be delighted to help you. This is the right place to come and a great place to start. You said you are new to genealogy, so perhaps you could tell me what questions or areas of interest you have. Have you any ideas about what you would like to find out about your ancestors?
Well, I have so many questions. You see, my great-grandmother on my mom's side died recently. She lived on the East Coast, and so growing up I hardly ever got to see her much. I grew up in a military family, and we traveled around a lot. You see, she left me this box. It is full of old photographs and letters of people I don't know. I was wondering how my family even came to the U.S. and where they came from before that. Did they move around like me, or did they stay in one place? I want to know more about my heritage. It's German and Irish.
My condolences. This box is very precious. It also holds a lot of clues for your search. If you had one question to ask first, what would it be? The best place to start is with one specific and solid question about a person or an event.
Well, there is a love story between my deceased great-grandparents. Look, these are my great-grandparents, Cartson and Rhoda Miller. Here they are with their kids and my mother. I remember when I was small, my great-grandma would tell me stories about the fairies, and great-grandpa would sit on his knee and tell me all about landing with a parachute in France during World War II. There's where they met, in Europe.
Do you happen to know any dates in the lives of your great-grandparents? Information such as birth dates, marriage dates and deaths, where they lived, their middle names, a maiden name. It all helps. We can start building a family tree with them. We cannot do everything at once. It's a bit like a jigsaw puzzle. Each day we add something and a clearer picture emerges. I can help guide you with managing the searches and resources so you can continue by yourself.
That sounds like a great idea.
I also want to know if you are familiar with a website called Ancestry.com or any other genealogical websites. They are very helpful at keeping your discoveries organized in one place. Genealogy can get very complicated, and it is important to stay organized. Ancestry allows you to build a family tree which not only shows how everyone is related, but which allows you to search for your ancestors and extended family in many record databases such as the US Census, Vital Records, and military records. You can then save documents linked to your ancestors on their individual page.
Sort of. My cousin has Ancestry.com because he did his DNA and let me look at it. He shares the password with me and we look at it together.
Great. But you do have other choices. Do you have a library card for this branch? And are you familiar with accessing ebooks and online resources?
Yes.
Great, then come on over here to this computer station. We have other online resources here. If you log in at home, you can use our library subscription to Heritage Quest. We also have Ancestry.com Library Edition. You can only use it from here, but it's more powerful than the home version. This is Family Search. It is totally free to join. It is operated by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. When I do searches, I tend to use this site along with Ancestry. In your own time later, look at all three sites and see which you prefer. Also, since you are a member of this library, you can also look in the general catalogue for print and ebooks by typing in a subject search in keywords. I would recommend Genealogy, How to Do Everything by George Morgan. You can then read good books about genealogy and the history of the period your ancestors lived in, such as World War II. Context is always important. We can begin by creating your account so we can then start building a family tree. One thing I want to mention before we get started is to keep track. Look, if I go here and click, I can pull up an image of a family group sheet. We can print this out. You get 10 free printouts a day at the library as long as you're logged in. Let's print it now. The second thing to mention is not to get too excited and click on everything and adding records that only slightly resemble your ancestors. Before I add anything to my tree, I try to double check that the information matches. It's easy to get two people with similar names in similar locations confused and end up climbing another family's tree. As you search, you will start to notice that some records contain errors and typos or even deliberate mistakes. Women and immigrants sometimes change their names. Be prepared for this and record all the anomalies separately.
Wow, this is so much information to take in.
Certainly, yes, it can be quite overwhelming. And that's why we patiently work on one person or event at a time. It can literally take years of research. In your genealogical research, you will seek out good advice and methods. Learn about the genealogical proof standard from videos on YouTube. Be accurate and certain that what you find is really your ancestors. Learning good research habits from the start is important. Just Google genealogy and you will see links to webinars, blogs, podcasts, and all sorts of online information. There are even Facebook groups that focus on this. Ancestry and Family Search have guides and tutorials such as reading old-fashioned handwriting. Let's go to Ancestry.com now. So when and where was your great-grandfather born? What's his full name?
His name was Carson Hines Miller, and he was born in Charleston, South Carolina. Let me think. Sorry, I must work backwards. He died when I was 5, and he was about 65 years old, so it must have been 1987 when he died, and so he was born in the early 20s.
Okay, you can start your tree here. See how the tree fans out? Notice that living and deceased are noted on the tree. Privacy for the living is important. It is also the reason why records can remain hidden from the public for up to a century to protect the living, as you will see.
Do I type in here in the box where it says add?
Yes, wonderful. You've got it. Now pull up Carsten's page by clicking here. Click on search in the top right-hand corner and a page asking for details about him pops up. Fill this out, but don't be too exact. You can make the dates and places he lived wider or narrower. Sometimes you have to play around with the input information to find what you're looking for. See now, a new page with some results pops up, and on the left it has search filters. You can choose the kind of records you want to search through too.
Amazing. I could get addicted to this. It's so interesting. Here he is. It's a gravestone. I remember this. Let me look. I can zoom in. Birth, February 26, 1922, and death, April 2nd, 1987. It's sad. It's too early to die at age 65.
Yes, it is. Now let's try to find a vital record to back this up. Keep on scrolling through the lists. Do you mind if I leave you alone for a while to search? I'll return shortly. Don't forget to enter your great-grandmother too and do a similar search.
Yeah, sure.
I'm back. So what did you find?
It is amazing. I found the 1930-1940 U.S. Federal Census. I found his U.S. World War II Army enlistment records, 1938 to 1946. Also, U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, BIRLS Death File, 1850 to 2010. Here in the U.S. Public Records Index, 1950 to 1993, Volume 1. I found the U.S. Social Security Death Index, 1935 to 2014, and U.S. Obituary Collection, 1930 to current. The best find was South Carolina Naturalization Records, 1968 to 1991.
The federal censuses are taken each decade and are a rich source of information for households. Let's click on the South Carolina Naturalization Record. See View Image in green? Wow, look at that. This is the document linking your great-grandparents. It has all the information about Carsten and Rhoda Noreen Maud Miller. She was born in Kilkeel, Northern Ireland, on the 20th of June, 1926, and they married on the 6th of September in 1944 in Newtownards, Northern Ireland. She entered the U.S. on April the 12th, 1947, into New York on the USAT Henry Gibbons. She has 2 daughters. The date of her naturalization is the 22nd of May, 1959. There are addresses and so much more information that can lead you to more discoveries. For Carsten and Rhoda's marriage certificate, however, you will need to search in Northern Ireland at a site called Groney.
I did the same search for Rhoda and similar types of records popped up, but the best find was the UK Outward Passenger List, 1890 to 1960, which lists her as departing Swansea, Wales, the 3rd of April, 1946.
This is amazing. Of course, we will still need to find vital records of the birth, marriages and deaths. This will mean looking in Ireland and Charleston. Now we will need to look at outside sources to fill out the details for corroboration and details and context.
I googled D-Day, and it was on the 6th of June, 1944, so they married straight afterwards. She must have worried so much and wondered if he could return to wed her. The war ended in September 1945, so they came as soon as they could.
Yes, I know a little about war brides, which Rhoda was. There's a lot of history to study there. Immigration laws opened up for a few short years to allow wives and fiancés of U.S. troops to join their husbands here. Special ships brought them. Let me see Carsten's Veteran Affairs record. Yes, look, he was in the army and was discharged on the 11th of October 1945. Now let's peek at his enlistment record. Yes, he enlisted just after the war started. Here, 16th of September 1940. See how we can click here and save these to his profile? So search, investigate, verify, save. Would you like to know where to go next?
Yes, please. Where do I go if I want to find out about the generation in the 18th and 19th centuries?
I suggest narrowing down to the 19th first and taking it one generation at a time. You can first concentrate on direct ancestors rather than collateral relatives, their siblings and cousins. You can visit the LDS Family History Centers. Look, here is their website to find a center near you. Focus on one area at a time. Keep good notes and be organized. They have many more resources at the Family History Centers than we do. There are also some other good online sources. One website is Cindy's List and the other is RootsWeb. Here are the links. I'm going to write down a short list of other resources for you to investigate. By the way, do you know what their religion was?
Thank you. Yes, Lutheran. They all attended St. Matthew's Lutheran Church. Rhoda might have been originally Presbyterian, I think, for Old Bible.
Looking into religious resources is important. You can find these on the web pages I showed you, or just look for the Lutheran Church in South Carolina and Presbyterian church records in Ireland. These help with substitute records for their births and marriages. Here's a quick list of resources to find out more about the generations before Carsten and Rhoda. Vital records for Charleston, South Carolina. I know birth records were only recorded by the state since 1915 and are held at the health department. Before that, check Ancestry. Here, there is a page especially about births in Charleston. Death records go back to the early 19th century. Family Search also has a page on Charleston and adds that Charleston Public County Library can provide you with copies for a small fee. For your great-grandmother, you will need to search in Northern Ireland. I believe they have the website Gronny, which I mentioned before, where you pay a small fee to retrieve information and copies. The web pages I showed you have information about Germans in Charleston and South Carolina. Look, a page about researching Palatine ancestors. I remember there was something on it called the Palatine Project. Let's try to look for that by typing Palatine into Family Search. Here it is. I don't know if your German ancestors came from that region, but everything helps in completing the jigsaw. Other ancestry resources are here. They are called the Red Book and the Source. They have been integrated into a site called RootsWeb. They have excellent resources concerning immigration, such as maritime passenger lists for the Port of Charleston. While on Ancestry, look at the card catalogue too. When you look at your family tree, little green leaves will appear by names. These are hints or suggestions for further searching, often linking you with other trees compiled by others on the same ancestors. Family Search Wiki has a section on South Carolina's emigration and immigration and church records. It also highlights state and county-specific repositories such as archives and other libraries. They will have their own websites. There is the South Carolina Genealogical Society, South Carolina Historical Society, the Charleston Museum, and the Charleston Library Society. Also check out the Southern Carolina Department of Archives and History. They have a great genealogy section. Don't forget military resources. Here's a link to Fold 3 in which you can search the military records for Carsten and his father. In this state, you can also look up Civil War records. Lastly, many libraries have digital access to old newspapers, which are excellent sources on information about ancestors. Try to find city directories also. Family Search will let you look at cemetery records and tombstones in South Carolina with links to find a grave. An exhaustive search requires both direct and indirect evidence. These sources are all useful in different ways, and all of them are needed to find a complete picture of your great-grandparents so that you will be able to know and tell their life stories. These sources will also equip you to research deeper into your family tree in a competent way.
So much to learn. I think I will organize my findings on Ancestry and on my laptop in files.
Excellent, yes. But for the next step, don't forget that interviewing family and talking about memories is also very important. Find out as much as you can about the history and society of South Carolina too. It has a very rich history. Make note of a few more focused research questions and take one or two of these to the Family Search Center. Remember, I showed you how to find the closest center to you online. Have you any ideas of your next question?
This photo of St. Matthew's Church has the name John Henry Seakin on the back. Who was he, and how are we related? Your help will guide me into the search. Bye for now.
Goodbye.